The story starts with a man saying, "Like I said, if you don't lend me the money, then today's date is off. Although if you're responsible and put out instead, that's cool too. Love hotels on you." She suddenly charges at him, and he says, "I'm done messing with you. You're broke, and you don't put out, like I don't care about you." She replies, "That's not even funny," and calls him an octopus. The scene then shifts to a room where three girls are discussing a girl's boyfriend. One companion says, "I told you not to get involved with that guy. Can you even name one good thing about him?" The girl replies, "He looked like Takakura." The companion says, "What's wrong with that? I like hard-boiled guys like him." The companion adds, "Dudes like this are extinct. It's a damn shame. Will I never meet another Ken? I mean, come on, somebody, anybody, console me." As she is passing by a class, she looks at a boy with glasses, but another boy says, "Quit looking at me, you're creeping me out." But she goes and sits with the boy with glasses, and the boy says, "I know what you're into." She says, "How many times am I going to have to repeat myself? For a person like you, Miss Ayase, to come talk to a fellow like me, there can be only one explanation." She says, "I think you've got the wrong idea. I'm not trying to be your friend. Forget what happened back there. This is what I'm talking about. The president has already been to March. The whole of Project Practices revealed you're interested in paranormal activities." She says, "Nah, I don't believe in UFOs or aliens." And he says, "I'm talking about UAPs, not UFOs, unidentified aerial phenomena. The American military has officially acknowledged the existence of UAPs and has created a branch called Space Force. While Japan, what did Japan do? They're preparing for a Space Force, I guess." She says, "Will you shut up? I'm dealing with a broken heart here. I'm not in the mood for this nonsense. You're really pushing it with this." And he says, "That's why you don't have any friends." She retorts, "Don't talk to me like we're friends." He says, "I'm sorry, I went too far." He thinks, "There's no way there are things like spirits. I went along with your nonsense, and now you have the nerve to shut me down. Please do not belittle the paranormal. Have you ever seen an exorcism? It's so scary. The possessed person has fits and stuff." He says, "Illness can also cause fits. There's no proof that spirits exist." She says, "Have you heard about an alien who offers you a ride in his UFO? Your arguments are all over the place. Don't be an idiot." The girl's companion comments, "Seems like she's given up on Ken for the geek type. I do wonder how she looks at him. Can't say that I hate it." She says, "All right, let's make it a challenge then. If I can prove that spirits are real, then you have to be my personal servant." He says, "Fine, I'll show you some UFOs. I mean, UAPs. When you finally see one, then you will serve as my servant, Miss Ayase." The scene then shifts towards an abandoned hospital, and she says, "What is this place? It's scaring the crap out of me, and you're telling me that this is the hot spot?" He says, "This hospital is practically the holy land for UFOs. If you call a UFO from here, you will definitely be abducted." She asks, "What does that even mean?" He explains, "It means that you get abducted by aliens and they use you for human experimentation." She asks, "Hold on, have you been experimented on?" He says, "It's very possible. Most of the people who are abducted have memory loss. You never actually seen a UFO, have you?" He replies, "It's unconstitutional. The question is whether or not the argument is solid and how things are going to end on your end." As they arrive at the haunted location, he says, "Now then, I shall prove to you once and for all there's no such thing as spirits. Scared, are you?" She says, "By the way, they say you are guaranteed to see something there. It's famous on the internet. They say a loud voice is the most dangerous thing of all. Wait, why do you keep saying it's on the net? Have you seen a spirit, Miss Ayase?" She replies, "No, I have not. You had some nerve talking so big before. Take back all that stuff you said. You've never seen a spirit, but you still believe in them? That's very bizarre." She says, "I told you that my grandma is a spirit medium, and we've always been really close." He says, "It's because I have no parents." She says, "No, you're all timid." He says, "Whenever I used to go outside, I would have to swear to do a certain ritual for good luck. My grandma made me do it all the way to school. And I need to tell you something. My family is super weird. The boys would laugh at me, but if I didn't do it, my grandmother would get angry, and then I would feel pretty bad about it. I really hated my grandmother because of that." The boy I liked hates me now, or so I thought. I said something to my grandmother, and she stopped talking to me for a long time, so I stopped doing the ritual. But the weird thing is, when other people make fun of my family, it really pisses me off. Then I realized something. It wasn't the boy I liked that I really hated. It was the fact that the boy I liked made fun of my grandma. The truth is, my grandma and her work as a medium have always been special to me, and I love that. So no, I have never seen a spirit, and I don't know if my grandmother's ability to channel the supernatural is a real thing or not, but she took me into her care, and I was raised by the hands of that one woman. That grandma is someone I believe in, and that's why I believe in spirits. She asks, so why do you believe in aliens? He says, well, does it really matter? She responds, seriously, you don't have a reason? Do you need to have a reason to like something? You talk fast when you're on the phone. Did you know that? He says, I guess you're easy to talk to. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears in front of the boy and says, if you let me gobble your schlong, I will let you suckle my teats. Ayase says, whatever you do, do not run. But he ignores her and starts running. It's gotta be just an old lady. Is that super dangerous? Did I just misunderstand a mere chance encounter with an old lady? If you lose the race against the turbo lady, she will put a curse on you. This cannot be happening. I am on my way, just hang on. As she is on her way, 3 mysterious figures come in front of her. She says, what the heck are you? If you could just stop now. She runs away from them, but they chase her and try to grab her. They finally grab her, and she is transported into a room, trapped with a seat. The figures say, we are Serpoians. We are called that because we come from the planet Serpo. Please do not be afraid, we are friendly people. She says, friendly people don't strip girls naked. They say, your things are being handled with care. Then they explain, our species has only males, therefore we increase our numbers through cloning. He says, and so, in order for us to prepare, we wish to have your kind's banana organs. Now we shall perform the act, and after performing it, we will extract the banana organs for research. She says, I was dating a real bag, but I still managed to walk away with my virginity. I have maintained my chastity for Ken, who I've yet to find. As they are about to perform the act, a bell on the phone rings. It's a cult. They say, a person with bad timing, it would seem, but it's a delay. The old granny comes and beats them, but it is actually a cult who has come to save her. He says, I was cursed by the granny. He says, I cannot control myself. He says, come on, get a hold of yourself. But the Serpoians say, you do not have the permission to enter this place. Leave at once. If you do not, we will take your banana organs. As this starts, he says, I cannot train psychokinesis on him, and after some time, he is defeated by the Serpoians. As he is lying on the ground helpless, Miss Ayase suddenly breaks everything around her. He is shocked and asks, do you have paranormal abilities? She says, I am just as shocked as you are. He says, my ability is being boosted back. This person was not able to employ it before. Did I overstimulate her brainwaves with my psychokinesis, causing the woman's power to open up? She is the real thing. Grandma is an honest-to-goodness medium. He thanks the grandma and says, now I can send this scum back to where they came from. She asks a cult if he's all right. That's when she sees that the curse still isn't lifted, even though the granny has left his body. The granny says, if you want the curse to be lifted, come to the tunnel. This place is too far away. She says, we've got to get out of here, dead. Suddenly, an explosion happens in the building, but they make it outside. She asks, what do we do now? He says, good question. I need to keep a lid on your curse with my powers, or you'll be there again. I've lost my uniform, my phone, and everything. As he gets up, she says, where are you going now? He replies, I'm going to put on my clothes and go home. She asks again, and he says, everything that happened is my fault. I don't want you involved in it any further. I will work up the courage to go to the tunnel, and after that, I will sort this out somehow. She says, why are you asking me to come with you? After what I experienced, I cannot just walk away. Plus, I have to be there or you'll be dead again. It's better that we're together. He says, are you sure? Will you help me? She says, come on, put your clothes on. We're going. He says, please put on the clothes. If you don't, I will not be able to speak to you properly. He thinks, why is my heart racing like that? I was just taken aback when she happened to say that Ken line, that's all. He says, now that I think about it, what's your name again? I'm very bad at remembering names. He finally says, my name is Ken Takakura, leaving her shocked to hear that. Ayase refuses to accept it, and he says, I don't know what you mean, but my name is actually Ken Takakura. She says, I don't want to hear it, just stop. She adds, if you use that name again, I will unlove you myself. But he insists, but that's my actual name, though. As they arrive at a house, she says, my grandmother is very strict about boys, so be careful. She almost killed my last boyfriend. However, his curse starts to act up again, but Ayase repels him back just in case. Ayase says, okay, and he registers a thumbs up and says, I'm fine. After some time, she says, you can come through, it's fine. If you get on fire again, I will just toss you back into the river. He says, my body is changing all over. As they enter the house, her grandma is nowhere to be found. As she checks the rooms, suddenly Ken comes in and says, the curse happened again. She says, don't just stand there, turn and face the wall. You are a real pain, as she changes her clothes. Occult says, I did not let the opportunity slip away. I always wanted a friend and everything. I don't want to lose this chance. That's why I was so desperate to talk to you. But you live in a different world than I do. You are not someone a person like me should be trying to talk to. Once it's all over, you can go back to ignoring me. It makes me sick when you say stuff like that. Go ahead and make assumptions about me and keep closing yourself off. The reason you don't have any friends is because you isolate yourself. As they are talking, they hear someone coming. She says, keep your voice down. I have never heard that door chime before. As they go out to see what is happening, she says, get off the grounds. He says, I cannot get out. We are walled in. Suddenly he starts bleeding, and she says, this black mist is what is causing the bleeding. I think we can put up that talisman. But he says, wait a minute. You cannot put that up. She asks, why not? He responds, because it is blocked by the wall. I won't be able to leave the grounds. Suddenly, a huge figure appears behind them and says, found you, as they run for their lives. Ken says, that is a space alien. He insists, there is no mistake. That's what it is, the Flatwoods monster. She says, then what about the door? Are you telling me that an alien set off the bell that was set up for evil spirits? He says, I will fight the monster and tell her to let the curse loose. She asks, where is this coming from? He replies, I am not afraid of aliens. Would you be able to release the curse from my body but keep it in my head? And for you to say I haven't mastered this power yet, I just might be able to control the granny's power. She says, we don't know if that will actually work or not, as he charges towards the monster, and they start fighting. After some time, the monster throws him into the wall, but Ayase comes to his rescue. With Ayase's help, the monster is defeated. She says, it's back to normal, and we made it, and she tells him the good news, saying, I thought we were goners. He reminds her about the curse, but suddenly she loses consciousness and falls to the ground. As Occult senses the curse coming back, he tries to wake her up, but he's too late. He has already transformed into the granny. The cursed Occult is about to attack Ayase. Her grandma comes to her rescue. She says, bring it on. As he charges towards her, she remarks, he's very fast, but maybe he went down just the way I expected. I knew that you would circle around to my blind spot. She continues, you walked right into the trap I had set up. She warns him, if you step over that line, you're going to get toasted, and explains that she's created a mystic barrier. By firing the nail outside your circle, I turn that region into a barrier, but if I do it like this, the inside becomes the barrier. The reason he couldn't escape was because she was already protected. He threatens, I'm going to eat you alive. You can't keep me trapped like this forever. I don't want to. I want to murder you. She taunts him, come on, stand your ground, otherwise you're going to cross the line. As she throws the nail, she says, bye-bye. The scene then suddenly shifts to Ayase, who is laying in bed. She suddenly wakes up to find her grandma watching TV in peace. She is surprised to see her back, and her grandma casually replies, I'm watching Bakatono right now. Ayase says, I've got something more important to talk about, and asks, did you go to the haunted spot? Her grandma replies, if you're talking about that evil spirit, I killed it. What did that spirit look like? Was it wearing glasses? Ayase responds, I thought you never believed in spirits. Her grandma says, I'm a phony spirit medium, remember? Ayase asks, how long are you going to hold that over me? She apologizes and asks what happened to the spirit. Her grandma tells her to go to the main shrine. As Ayase opens the door to see what happened, she sees Ken enjoying his food. When he sees Ayase, he's glad to know she's fine and says, I was positive that I would have killed you. As Ayase tells her grandma about her powers and how she can't suppress them, things get really dangerous. Her grandmother isn't surprised that psychic power exists. Ayase asks, just what is your criteria for believing things? Her grandmother says, Granny, you've got yourself mixed up with a real pain. I'll tell you, in the old days she was called the 100-kilometer-per-hour Granny. She created havoc all over the country. Ayase realizes that's the Turbo Granny, and that bound spirit has combined into one. Her grandmother warns, don't get mixed up with her. I don't want to lose my precious grandchild. She advises Ayase to go back to her regular life. As Ayase expresses concern about Ken, her grandma suggests, play a little tag with this Turbo Granny and challenge her. She's confident in Ayase's speed, but warns, the problem is what comes next. You will have to run like your life depends on it. The territory is called Shono City. You need to lure Turbo Granny outside the city limits without getting caught. Once that's done, you can take her out. Later, as they go back inside the house, Ayase tells Ken that he can sleep there tonight and that she'll get him a futon. He says, I'm really thirsty. Could you please get me some water? As her grandma watches the news, the report reveals that a popular idol, Shoma, who was believed to be 20, actually has a secret child and is 27. He has yet to file a marriage registration with his partner. Her grandma grumbles, now tell us about how you like curry and not ramen, to which Ayase responds, who gives a crap about that trash? As they are chatting in the house, Occult says, this is humiliating, and Ayase responds, it's the same for me too. He replies, I've always craved a normal encounter, not something crazy like getting abducted by aliens. He calls it unfair and adds, I just want this curse to end. After some time, they hear something from the door, and to no one's surprise, Occult has turned into the Turbo Granny. He says, the curse is transmissible through this. I can cause death to whoever I see. Do not take me lightly. I will not grant you more time. Come to the tunnel tonight, or I will use this brat to begin killing indiscriminately. When Ayase looks at her grandma, she notices that her ears are bleeding and asks her what happened. As they are on the roof, Ayase asks, do we really have to wear this? I can't even see very well. Her grandma replies, consider them bulletproof vests against evil spirits. They stay away from this. This is like stepping into the ring for some strong-style professional wrestling, but without any training, so be careful, or you will die. Occult looks helpless, but says, we've defeated aliens. Her grandmother chides, aliens don't exist. Stop joking around. She adds, your attitude is why you always get into trouble. You never listen to me. Ayase says, give me a break. I hate it when you nag me. Her grandma hugs her and says, don't get killed, okay? She then prays, please watch over these two. As they are on the train, Occult remarks, seriously, we're taking the train? Ayase explains, it's too far to bike, and we need our strength for the tunnel. She vows, I will never forgive the granny, and Occult says, it's all my fault. I should have listened to you. Ayase concludes, I'm going to kill the granny. As they arrive at the tunnel, both are ready to face the challenge. Ayase says, before we go in, look at my tear-filled eyes. They're totally dry. Occult replies, then we'll go side by side, which is only fair. Ayase retorts, you are so unmanly. As they argue about who should go first, Ayase asks, so what do we do again if she shows up? Occult explains, we need to lead her outside the city and separate her from the local bound spirit. Then she'll weaken, and we can defeat her. Ayase adds, but those were aliens, right? Maybe we can defeat her here. If I recall correctly, you were terrified. She continues, after such a big ordeal, how bad can one old lady be? Suddenly, the granny appears in front of them, and both are surprised by her size. Occult nervously asks, what should we do? Ayase tries to stay calm. You said it yourself. We need to get her outside the city. As they attempt to reach the other side of the tunnel, the granny appears there too, trapping them. Ayase uses her magic to throw baseball bats at the granny's eyes, but to their shock, she eats them with her eyes. Ayase cringes. Her eyes are grossing me out. Occult pleads, please release my curse. I'll handle this somehow. She replies, I'm counting on you, but he quickly loses confidence. I'll do my best, or maybe not. I don't think I can do this. I'm no use at all. They panic as the granny closes in. The granny boasts, who do you think you're talking to? I never lose in speed, so I accept your challenge. I can catch you anytime. As they run, the granny starts a countdown from 10 minutes, warning that she will start chasing them afterward. When the countdown ends, she begins her pursuit. Just as she almost catches Occult, Ayase saves him, and he thanks her. They manage to escape the tunnel and board a train. Occult nervously says, you can't do that here. I want to get out of this ASAP. He adds, is that a good idea? Those clothes are supposed to protect you from evil spirits. Your grandma said they were the best. Ayase responds, who would wear a girl's combat garb style if I can't wear what I want? I can't get hyped up. Occult starts laughing, and Ayase asks, why are you laughing like that? He replies, I feel like I'm going to hurl. The Turbo Granny, a type of yokai, is known to live in tunnels. She stands 120 centimeters tall, but her weight is unknown. There are 3 types of grannies, the 80 kilometers per hour granny, the 100 km/h granny, and the 120 kilometers per hour granny. The scene shows them both running on a road with a giant crab chasing them. Ayase exclaims, why is this spirit a crab? Grandma said that when the dead cross the river to the other world, they transform into freshwater crabs. She then tells Occult, you have to transform. Unlike before, you've got Turbo Granny's true form inside you now. As the crab continues chasing them, Occult transforms into the granny, and Ayase nervously remarks, that was close, and this is super serious. Don't use my powers without me, okay? He replies, and don't use my first name. Struggling with the transformation, he adds, you're too heavy. I can't turn. They lose control and fall off a mountain, tumbling towards the houses below. As they fall, Ayase says, now I'm going to get serious, and uses her powers to slow their descent. She compares him to a helicopter as they crash to the ground. Worried, she asks, are you okay? You let me land on you. She apologizes and thanks him at the same time, noting, you really got serious, huh? Occult responds, you can only use your full strength with your eyes, but thanks to that shortcut, we might have put some distance between us and the crab. As the crab closes in on them again, they notice it has faces all over its back. After a chaotic chase, they reach the train station. The receptionist asks, how many tickets would you like today, while they are still running? 2 tickets! They shout, continuing their sprint inside the building. The crab smashes through everything in its way, causing everyone inside to panic, screaming about an explosion as they run for their lives. They notice that the water is the crab's natural environment, but they manage to take refuge in a hot spring. Ayase realizes, when you boil a crab, the meat gets firm, and that means the muscle fibers stiffen, making it hard for it to move. The crab stops moving, and they see it turning red, now looking like a delicious meal. Occult comments, that's what's on your mind? Stop daydreaming, and let's get out of here. As they escape, they notice the streets are filled with people with eerie, paranormal faces running towards them. Ayase asks, what's wrong with them? Occult explains, there's a big cemetery on the edge of the city. The spirits sleeping there have risen to stop us. Shono is their territory, and they won't let us get out, Ayase said. It's time to get serious now. If I use it now, we will never reach the next city, he says. But if you don't, we will die right here, so trust me. He calls it very depressing and says, your governors of this will be immobilized. As the crowd runs towards them, something fleshy happens, and they both end up lying on the ground. He said, I cannot go any further. I have reached my limit. He says, I thought I was going to spew my insides. I feel like my body is almost there. He says, I let go after everything. Granny then appears and says, I will not forgive you for your tricks, but what bothers me the most is your lack of respect for your elders. I have never seen an old back belly the kids this much, she says. The granny says, I hate casual switches, and I hate people like you. Ayase says, my ability allows me to grab stuff, as she points towards something. Her hand becomes bigger and grabs the train, and they both take cover from the train. She says, an old name for Turbo Granny is 100 km/h Granny, and the train is going much faster than that, so she will not recharge. The granny chases after them and says, "I will kill you." She finally reaches the train, gets on it, and the granny remarks, "That train doesn't always go at top speed. This load is on the curse. And on the other hand, I always maintain 100 kilometers per hour as the fastest old lady ever, so you cannot escape me no matter what you do." She says, "Like Grandma said, you should be sure to accept a challenge. Now that you are on board this railway to your defeat," and she uses her repulsion power on the granny. After some time, they are lying at the station, and when they regain consciousness, a cult says, "Where are we? Where is the crab? Where is Turbo Granny?" Suddenly, Ayase's grandma appears and says, "I did not want to get rough, but this place was the scene of multiple murders. The killer attacked girls like you, slit them up, and scattered their body parts. They had no chance to become spirits. We mediums have been hunting Turbo Granny for a long time, and every person with her head has one thing in common. She always appears near spirits who died horrific deaths. We suspect that she was visiting places where girls could not pass to the afterlife, so she could console them. But the dead must never attack the living. Sources are necessary to send them to the other side. Likewise, the living must not be disrespected by the dead. Those are the rules of coexistence between the living and the dead." She is glad that Ayase is not hurt. After some time, at the food table, both are fighting over the crab. A cult says, "I am not hungry, so if you want mine, you can have it." They both say that only Ayase would not eat the crab, and he replies, "Normally I would, but how do you eat the crab after what has happened, after all?" The grandma says, "But you prefer to eat, Mr. Picky. I am not talking to you anymore." As time passes, a cult is preparing to leave their house, and they all bid him farewell. While he is on his way, he thinks, "I cannot let her know that I am new at this. After all, I practiced all night, and I see she is waiting for me at the gate." He thinks she is probably waiting for someone else and decides not to approach. As he goes past her, she says, "What took you so long? Let's go." His face is full of surprise. As he is sitting in class, he says, "I can handle this no matter how crowded it gets. I can forget it all because now I have the most wonderful friend." As one boy tries to bully him, he says, "I will forgive them." The scene then shifts to Ayase and her friends, where she is telling them that something is up. "She hasn't been answering my texts," she says. "She lost her phone and also missed school yesterday. I bet she's with her ex right now." Meanwhile, in the boys' class, where he is drawing the crab, he says, "I want to talk to Miss Ayase about ghosts. I got so nervous this morning that I couldn't even talk, even though she has been so nice to me." On the other hand, she says, "I want to talk to Okarun about what aliens usually eat and if they use toilet paper or wear underwear. I need to make it up to him, or he will hate me for talking to him really badly." They both don't know what to do and are confused about what will happen next. They have the same thoughts on their minds and don't want to lose each other. As they confront each other, they accidentally kiss. They both say, "I was looking for you this whole time," and she replies, "Me too. You should not wander around." He says, "You were looking for me? I thought you were avoiding me," and she replies, "That's what I thought as well." This is very awkward. I need a new topic, and it should be fast. As Ayase's friends come to see them, they are surprised by their actions. Ayase replies, "There is no way I would kiss a big dork like him," and he responds, "I would never kiss such a bubblehead." As they argue, they suddenly part ways while shouting at each other. Meanwhile, in the restroom, Okarun says, "I got carried away back there, but I do actually want to talk to her. I should apologize." Then he thinks, "I thought I had it back, but now my balls are gone." As the girls are discussing Okarun, he comes into the classroom. She says, "What are you doing here? I told you that I don't want to talk to you." He replies, "Now is not the time for that. This is very important. I need to talk to you alone. Would you please listen to me?" She responds, "All you had to do was be my friend. Quit going around spreading weird rumors." He says, "You talked to me a lot this morning, didn't you? I want to talk to you now." She says, "You said you weren't going to speak to me either." He replies, "It was just a verbal tit for tat. I guess the truth is I actually can't help but want to talk to you." She ignores him, and he asks, "Are you that embarrassed to be friends with me?" She says, "No, you didn't need to react like that. If he was just your friend, you could joke with him. I have never seen you like this before. I wonder if she has gone home already. She then comes in front of him, apologizes, and asks if he is okay. He says, "No, wait, I am the one who is sorry," and she gives him a water bottle, asking if it hurt. He replies, "No, not at all. It's probably because I have gotten a lot stronger now." She calls him a very kind person and thinks, "I feel so bummed out. It's like I am the only one who did anything wrong." He says, "Just some idiot girls don't get your charm." She apologizes and says, "My attitude before was the worst. I am sorry for being embarrassed. I am not ashamed to be friends with you." He says, "It's fine. I'm not bothered. We can patch things up like this." As they head home, he says, "I have got no balls." And she starts laughing. The granny says, "This is why I told you to show me how you are, not to say this now. You're both dunderheads." Ayase keeps laughing, and he says, "This isn't even that funny." Ayase can't stop giggling about the ball part, and the granny says, "Go get me a doll. Any doll will do, and some water in a wash bowl. There is something inside of him." And the granny says, "Let's get started. You have to put the talisman on the doll." She adds, "Do not speak or move, you rotten tangerine." He replies, "Hold on, this sounds like some TV drama. This person is for a pictograph of poles supporting each other, isn't it?" When you struck Okarun, his aura turned blue for a moment. The instant you see his aura and blue energy coming out of him, you cannot overlay others' blue aura on his. If it's foreign to him, it should be pulled out easily. Suddenly, they notice that the doll is moving and starts running away from them. They chase after the doll, but they cannot catch it. They say, "It's very fast," and ask, "What even is that?" As they look for the doll, Ayase says, "I've got it." The cat says, "I will not leave you alone." Okarun replies, "This is very awesome. Your powers must be improving." The granny says, "What surprises me is that Turbo Granny is inside the cat." They say, "But we defeated Granny. We sent her to the afterlife, didn't we?" The cat says, "If youngsters like you could take me down, never look down on your elders. The instant I was touched by the barriers, I assumed an astral form and was able to swim through the flames and take refuge in the boy's body. Since I was at death's door, once inside him, all signs of life appeared gone. I stayed hidden inside, waiting for my spiritual power to recover. When it does, I will murder you all." Ayase says, "You still want to fight? Deal with it, you old lady." The granny says, "No, I didn't. Even if you could beat me, you're really going to get it now. I am simply recuperating. Once I regain my power, I will beat you like a drum." She shows him a picture of a creature and says, "You finally see the big picture. I'm the only one with any real power. Now go grab a carving knife, and I'll give you back your balls." She tries to manipulate him, saying, "You have to do whatever I tell you to do and hurry up." Okarun is in pain, and the grandma says that's not good. In other words, your spiritual powers are still in the kid. All that's in the doll is your consciousness. Incidentally, I am the only one who can put your consciousness back in its original state. Now, I believe you felt sympathy for those who became bound as spirits. So let's be nice to each other. If you give him his balls back, we'll return your power." The cat says, "Damn it, I can't. I kind of lost the balls." I enveloped each of his balls within a spirit energy membrane, which looks like a shining gold ball about 5 centimeters across. If you see one, I expect you will recognize it immediately. As we search for it, we have not seen them anywhere, she says. It's no use. We will never find something this small. If you search this much and still haven't found them, it could mean they have already been taken. Powerful life forces and jewels within the ball spirits carry so much energy. She continues, "Like I said, if someone has taken his balls, then there is no hope of finding them." The granny says, "You're telling me?" And she responds, "Because you are the one who lost them, you should help too." Ayase suggests, "We better go back for now and think up another strategy." Okarun agrees, and the granny says, "I will not forget how you treated me. We have got no clue what to do. I can ask an acquaintance of mine if they have any information on my missing balls. Also, don't forget that you still have your rainy power inside you. It seems it did not go away this time, but that does not mean I am not still dangerous. So now, stay out of trouble until we know more." At school, the boys bully Okarun for being with Ayase. He says, "She is cute. I never even considered that. I was just happy to have a friend for once. But now that I think about it, maybe she is kind of cute." Then he comes to his senses and thinks, "She's my friend. Don't think about her being cute. That's impure. Someone says, rumor has it that she'll give it up for anyone. He grabs them and says, who do you think you are spreading such rumors? He confronts the person and asks, who is spreading such rumors? The person responds, it wasn't me. I get it already. Let's go, and apologizes. When Ayase and Okarun meet, he says, what are you doing? Why are you standing so far away? He avoids her, and she says, look at me when I talk to you. Why are you running away? As this is going on, the cat says, I guess I will experience some of that long-forgotten campus life. After school, while searching for the ball, Ayase uses her abilities and finds the golden ball. It has a message saying, save this world from the wicked fiend. She responds, I understand, and I will do it because I'm a beautiful girl. Ayase puts the golden ball in her pocket. Her friends come over and say, we brought what you asked for, but it's borrowed, so be careful. She replies, then we're all set. She comments, this smell is weird. Is this cross even real? One of her friends says, how should I know? Ayase replies, are we really going to do this? She continues, of course. I was the chosen one. I'm so beautiful that it falls to me to save the world. Suddenly, they spot a woman in a red dress. Her friends say, we don't see her. Ayase exclaims, no way. It must be that girl's familiar. She's spying on us. She tells everyone to get down, and some other people come and ask, what are you doing? She replies, it's so hot, so I was pressing against the cold wall. She adds, we'll do it after school, but don't tell anyone. As Ayase and Okarun are sitting on a bench, she says, look at me, and he replies, I'm watching Turbo Granny so she doesn't run away. The granny says, you couldn't stop me. I'm already away. Okarun asks, why did she come to school? The granny replies, why do I need your permission? Ayase says, because we defeated you. The granny responds, that fight may have ended, but I will make you suffer. Women should talk about that. That's why I'm not just wandering around the school, doing nothing. I'm looking for the balls. After school, the girls bring Ayase to an empty warehouse. She says, what could you possibly want to talk about in a place like this? They suddenly grab her, put her on the ground, and start a ritual, chanting, die, demon. Ayase uses her power to repel them, and they say, these are her demon wings. I will use my gift from heaven, the golden ball. They find that the cross isn't working as they take out the ball. Ayase is surprised to know that they have one of his balls. They are shocked to learn that she knows about the golden ball. She says, I was given this so I can save the world. It's a holy ball. Ayase responds, it's Okarun's balls, so give them back. Her friends say, how could you profane something so holy? As Okarun comes running towards her, he says, I'm saved. We've found her. The girl has one of your balls. She remarks, no, that's not her. She's just the eerie woman's target. The witch finally says, I have the aura in my grasp. Long have I waited for you to be able to see me. The witch says, I am your mother. As she grabs Ayase, she says, what a surprise. Do you have a crush on my darling Ira? Ayase responds, I hate this. I want to go home. You're a demon. You can't have Ira. As they fight, Ayase says, attacking the living is against the rules. The witch replies, we're just enjoying an emotional reunion. She asks, what is this thing? Is this the kind of demon you fight? Ayase offers, do you want to cooperate to beat it? The witch responds, what are you talking about? At this rate, we'll end up as her side dish. The granny says, that's an acrobatic silky. They notice Miko's phone and ask her if she still needs to search the internet. The granny explains that it's wearing a red dress, has silky hair, and moves acrobatically. They ask, how are you a yokai and not know that? The witch responds, I don't pay attention to low-ranking rookies. She continues, I am the chosen one, so I have to beat monsters like you to make the world peaceful. The witch accuses, it's your fault you turned Ira into a naughty girl. Okarun replies, she called me a monster. She was never like that before. The granny says, it's no use. Ayase urges, come on, cooperate. I cannot handle this alone. The granny says, will you be the one who stole my power? What did you expect? The witch retorts, you're judging me after all this is your fault. Say you're sorry. She does not apologize and calls her a moron, demanding that if she calls her mummy, she will forgive her. The witch again calls her a moron, saying, she is my child. The granny says, dear, she got eaten. Give back the kids or I might still forgive you. The witch asks, who are you anyway? I don't want to talk to you right now. The granny replies, "You should speak to me with respect because I am much older." The witch says, "Sounds like you have a death wish." The granny explains, "The Manakineko has the power to invite good luck. You ate some of your hair along with Momo, but I am burning. What's happening?" The witch says, "My hair is on fire. I am burning inside." The granny reveals, "This was actually a lighter. Momo used it to set your hair on fire." They have successfully defeated the witch, and the rescue was successful. The granny warns, "Don't underestimate me. I can easily revive those people anytime I want to." She suddenly emerges once again with more power, and the woman says, "You stole Era from me. Give her back." The woman insists, "You will not get away from me," and demands that they return her. She adds, "My acrobatics in this tricky terrain are impossible to catch." The woman says, "If you don't want to call me mummy, I can accept that. As long as we're together, once I devour you, you will be a part of my flesh forever. So I'm going to thoroughly chew you up." Suddenly, the woman cannot move and exclaims, "What's happening? Why can't I move?" Her hair is tied up, and she says, "You cannot catch me like this." As a fight breaks out, the house is almost destroyed. They emerge victorious from the fight. Ayase says, "That was awesome. You're not so bad when you try." Okarun replies, "I feel like I'm going to explode." The granny says, "Considering you're using my power, that's very beautiful." Ayase asks, "What should we do with her? Have Grandma exorcise her?" The granny responds, "Leave that to me. After that, she won't be able to use spiritual power for a while. But that girl has the ball, right? And she is over there. We should get back right now." Ayase says, "I really want to get out of this time." She asks the granny, "What's her relation to the Silky anyway?" The granny does not answer. After some time, she says, "We have a bigger problem. This girl is now dead." They were all shocked to hear that, and they told her to check the pulse. The granny says, "When an ordinary person gets heated, they die. It's nothing to worry about. It just happened that this time, 1% of fire and normal activities combined with my spiritual powers were unable to sustain her. That's all there is to it." Ayase asks Okarun if they can do CPR. He replies with little confidence, "I will try cardiac massage. With my power, I can probably massage her actual heart. The heart's just a lump. Massaging it won't do anything." The granny interrupts. "Tell her to shut up if she's just going to be in the way. Go jump in a lake." As they try to bring her back to life, the silky woman wakes up and says, "Now it's time. I will deal with her." She tells them to work on resuscitating Ira. The woman adds, "There is a much better way to bring her back to life. I will give my aura to Ira. A living being's aura is like a battery. Without a battery, the motor or heart will not function. I will replenish her aura with my own." Ayase responds, "And who will believe you? You're just looking to eat her again, aren't you?" The woman tears her mouth apart and says, "I can't eat people, and if you still don't trust me, then please match my head with the steel beam." The granny says, "She is telling the truth. Without aura, this girl will stay that way." Ayase says, "I don't trust you one bit. Make one false move, and we will pulp your head with that beam." She tells Okarun to get serious again and asks, "You said you would use your aura to replenish hers. How does it work?" The woman explains, "Use your ability to link my aura to hers, sort of like communication cables." She tells Okarun not to take his eyes off her. Suddenly, a flashing light emerges from the woman, and a person jumps from a building, saying, "Thank you always." The scene shifts to the past, where Ira is a child and asks the woman if she's not her mommy. Someone comes and says, "You cannot run off on your own like that." Ira replies, "I thought that was my mommy. Why should she be here of all places?" The man answers, "I keep telling you she went to a place very far away." Ira asks when she will come back, and he says she won't be back for a long time. "That's why you have to stay strong. Even with mommy gone, we have to hold things together so that she can be proud when she comes back someday. I promise I will be someone she can be proud of." The woman says, "I remember it now. I am supposed to protect us, but no one can even harm her." Momo suddenly starts crying, and Okarun asks if everything is all right. He says, "It seems you did something weird, so now it's time to get serious." But she tells him to stop, and they notice Ira is moving and coming back to life. The woman dissipates, and while dissipating says, "I'm sorry. I swore that I would protect you, but I have become a monster who cannot even control my emotions. I will end this now." As they notice that she is falling apart, Ayase asks the granny what is happening to her. The granny says, she said it herself, an aura is like a battery. Without it, you will die. Plus, she has lingering regrets here. She won't be able to achieve nirvana this way. Ayase asks, if that happens, then what? The granny replies, the only thing that will happen is that she will be completely erased. It will be as if she never existed. She will be forgotten by the living and the dead. With a life like that, being wiped out is hardly worth a second thought. Ayase says, but that can't be. That's too harsh. There must be some other way for her to achieve nirvana. The granny responds, there isn't. It is a matter of her own heart. There is nothing anyone else can do for her now. The woman says, I had wanted to buy you lovely clothes and play with you. I should have tried harder. You would have lived a happy life if I had not been your mother. I brought you misfortune. I am so sorry. As she is dissipating, Ira hugs her and says, Mom, I love you. She thinks about the past and says, because I was the happiest in the whole universe, I won't forget you. I swear, please let no one hurt them. Let them be happy. Let them go to a kind world. As everyone is eating at the food table, Ayase changes the topic and says, you got it in for me because I dropped that wash basin on your head, right? She continues, I'm not trying to be all buddy-buddy now, but I'm not looking to be enemies. I went too far when I did that. I'd like you to apologize to Okarun for making a fool out of him. Wait, be even better than that. You don't have the first floor, do you, Momo Ayase? She says, I would not hold a grudge over something like the wash basin incident. I'm coming after you because I know you're a demon. I keep telling you that I'm not. She replies, you've got the whole thing wrong, and now you're turning on me. It's a pain. Ayase says, when we fought the acrobatic Silky, Okarun looked exactly like a demon. There's no way that person is your grandma. She is hot and way too young. The grandma says, you're such a sweet girl. In fact, Momo is a demon, and both of you have beams. You're the boss in charge of them, and I suppose your aim is to destroy the world, right? Ayase responds, you total idiot. If I had that kind of power, the first thing I would do is blow off your head. Don't go agreeing with your pubescent paranoia. The grandma replies, so you're going to blow off my head? You've revealed your true nature. I was specified to protect world peace because I'm cute to the max. She says, thanks for having me. The suman noodles were yummy, but then adds, desktop her and says you will defeat her one day. Auntie is rooting for you. As they start putting the ball back into play, Ayase's grandma says, the picture's got the gators, and he replies, why are you trying to bat it away? As the granny throws the ball, it hits the bed. The striker's ball goes out, and when the ball hits his groin, he starts jumping. They ask if it's back, and he happily says that it is. He's got one ball back. That ball was high and inside. I will hit the next one. The ball was smoking. Isn't it great that you've got your ball back? He says. This is very, very cool. She says, we need to take care of the first ball. There are no leads to the second one. She asks, he has a PC for my parents' normal message boards? And he says, sorry, I don't know. She replies, maybe I should get another job to get a replacement phone. Those 4-year loans are a serious ripoff. He says, but I wanted to work on a report over lunch. She suggests, after school, then why don't we go to an internet cafe? He says, sorry, after school, I'm a little busy. As she is going down an alley by the school, she sees Okarun on top of a girl and is surprised to see that. As he is walking, he says, this is no good. I cannot be like this. When we go search for my other ball, another monster is sure to show up, and I'll have to fight it. Ayase's grandma says, do 5 sets of 100 push-ups, sit-ups, back exercises, and squats. I've got to get tough and get stronger, because if I don't, I'll be putting Miss Ayase in danger. As Shira approaches him, she says, can I help you? She remarks, you're a team, and I'm a human. I know this is completely wrong, but I can't keep holding these feelings in. She tells him to stay right there and not move, then asks him to close his eyes as she leans in to kiss him. He pushes her back and she asks, why are you avoiding it? Why are you being so awkward? You're the one being weird. He replies, why would you try that out of nowhere? She responds, when you confess your feelings to someone, you have to kiss them, right? I read that in a book. It says that a confession equals a kiss, and the boy has an obligation to accept that convention. He says, this is all wrong. What kind of books have you been reading? You're popular with all the boys. Have you become romantically awkward? He continues, please stop this. An attractive person should not be acting this way. She replies, don't lump popularity and men together. You don't even know what it takes to be popular. I am not awkward. I just don't know some things. Don't make fun of me. That's the definition of being good. He says, plus you've got it all wrong. She responds, this is the first time I've ever felt like this. Let me confess to you. Are you in the same process again or something? He tells her to stop, but then he falls on top of her. That's when Ayase catches him and says, hurry up and do it. He shouts, that's not. But it looks like Ayase is now mad. She starts to leave, calling him a turd burger. He chases after her, saying, you've got it all wrong. This isn't what you think. She replies, you said you were writing a report, and yet you're getting it on with that skank. He responds, you got your jacket off. You're also tearing up, and what's on your arm? He says there is a logical reason for all of that, but she says, I don't want to hear your excuses, so the report was a lie. He admits, yes, that was a lie. She replies, I've heard enough. He says, I have a valid reason, but she responds, I told you that I had dinner, and starts to leave. Icy comes back to the class. Her friend asks, you're back? Did you get the PMP? She replies, I gave it to the ground. They all ask if it's a joke. He explains, the Japanese mantis shrimp has a punching speed of 80 kilometers per hour and exerts 150 kilograms of force. If it were the size of a human, it would have 700 tons of force. That would take down an elephant with one blow. Even with the water resistance, it has that much force. It would be incredibly destructive. They respond, I see. Sometimes you feel our world's desire for global stuff too. As she thinks about what happened, her friend says she has been possessed by the spirit of a shrimp. Meanwhile, Okarun thinks she's actually right. There's no point in making excuses. I thought if I could get tough without her knowing, it would make me look cool. I told an outright lie and showed this to myself. It pointed her out. Now if I care about her, I should forget those excuses and get tough. As he is working out, he notices that the class is empty. Suddenly, Shiratori comes in and asks, where is everybody? What is even happening? She says, don't tell me this is Ayase's doing. It's pitch black outside. It's like I've experienced something like this before. It's no use. I'm completely locked in. This is seriously bad, and the water level is rising. I wonder what's happening to Okarun. Just thinking about him makes my blood boil. As she goes to the elevator, she notices something approaching her and thinks, is something coming? As she glances at it, it looks like a snake. She hides behind the door to escape the snake. She wonders, what is this? Is that a dinosaur or a snake? And wonders where Okarun is. The scene shifts to Okarun and Shiro, where she asks, what was that noise? He replies, I don't know. It sounded like an explosion. Why the hell is this happening? Is this some kind of trap you and Momo set up for me? She responds, I could ask you the same thing. Something like this happened to us before. It went pitch black outside, and we were trapped. She asks him, what did you do? Once we beat the alien, everything went back to normal. She then asks, hang on a second, are you saying aliens exist? He replies, yes, and actually, they are even nastier than ghosts and goblins. They were collecting human reproductive organs for some reason. As they watch a creature coming towards them, the creature says, Chiquitita, you and I cry, and then punches Okarun, sending him flying into the air. The aliens surround him as he lies on the ground unconscious. Shiro says, get away from him. I will take you on. She tells him to run away, as women are their target. However, the aliens use their magic to throw her back and say, only persons of high spirituality should be able to enter our void. Another one asks, is the operator perhaps malfunctioning? He says, we have come for your organs. We want them. We need them. Okarun replies, why is everyone after my junk? They respond, because you are a dude with a good set. The aliens toss him in the air, tearing his clothes apart, and ask, shall we chop off your banana organ first? He protests, I only have one ball as it is. Suddenly, someone comes in, and it's one of the Serpoins giving the order to set him free. Okarun is surprised to see the acrobatic Silky. The acrobatic Silky asks if he is all right, and he responds, how can you be so shameless as to display yourself to me in such a state of undress? This is under the presumption of an honorable betrothal, isn't it? Are you used to humans? I see. So that's why you were able to enter our void. While we are here, we will plug your organs. He adds, I need to put on some clothes. The acrobatic Silky says, just leave it to me, as the Serpos use their magic. The Serpos' magic is heavy and cannot be attacked by him. He thinks, what the heck was that? It felt like I slammed into an invisible wall. After some time, the creature says, I've got you now. She replies, what is this? I'm getting squished. He says, right now you are thinking, even without saying, he can still use his power. Who gives a crap about that? He continues, I would have failed to notice that you were uncarded. And she responds, that matters, just let me go. It's interesting to think that there could be multiple people with special abilities in the same location. We cannot forgo the advancements in our evolution. Ira says, I am the Chodan. I'm not going to be beaten by the likes of you. Usually the light of hope will beam down from the heavens. They reply, indeed, you have been chosen to aid in our evolution. Now let us begin. She pleads, please wait. Okarun steps in front of them and says, it's me that you're after, so I will be the one to take you on. He adds, I have got something more important than clothes, and I'm a man of my word. I just want to go home. He thinks, with the three of you here, this is a one-shot chance. We cannot advance this year. This is the only chance we get. As they continue, she calls to stop. If you do that, he will die. Please stop now. Ayase arrives to their rescue and says, this is what you get for flirting with dumb skanks. This woman is now here. I've been waiting to see you again. That is a face I could never forget, she says. The alien responds, we told it to keep the women out of this until we had the men's banana organs. She retorts, shut it! Don't look at me, you pervs! The acrobatic Silky, who is being rescued by Momo of all people, says, being rescued by Momo Ayase of all people makes me very mad. But lend me your strength, as I have no choice left now. She continues, I will cooperate with you, but I will never give him up. Use your power to keep them in check. The aliens respond, I don't understand what is happening, but we seem to have the upper hand. Wake the gig worker and get to work, or we will cut your pay. The gig worker says, sorry, but I have nothing left. You are more trouble than you're worth. They reply, Ayase, if you mention that name, you're done for. They add, she is powerful. Her telekinesis is being reflected. Gig worker, target that woman. The acrobatic Silky says, not on my watch. I won't let you ignore me, and attacks them. Ayase comments, you cannot see his attacks. He is in very big trouble. As they all fight, they say, she did not get it, but she saw it. She can see his punches. The woman says, you respectfully said that my power is not surprising. In that case, I will respectfully slam your weak spots again and again. They say, Okarun and the others, hold up. Don't fight too close to each other. You're an easier target that way. She responds, I am not. Is that what you want? To devise a plan? I am good value after all. She adds, don't say that. You two are trying to get yourselves killed. I'm sorry. Focus. It's your job to keep their weird powers in check. The creature says, this is completely useless. There will be an additional 60% cut in pay. An explosion happens, and everyone falls into the water. Okarun says, my feet are not touching the bottom. This is very stressful. The walls and ceilings have become submerged as the water rises. The dinosaur-looking creature swims to the center of the water. They realize that it is now here and don't know what to do with the huge and dangerous creature. They say, we have got to get out of here, and she asks, who put you in charge? I am the leader. He, all excited, replies, no, this is the city. It should be called Kamishi. This award's name is Nessie. You're so learned. Ayase shouts, guys, one of you buddies and gawks at Nessie? Go ahead, but I am running away. The alien says, what were you doing? You didn't keep the women out of the way, did you? That's a 60% cut in salary. They respond, what are you doing? Why would you attack us? It's the woman over there you should go after. Everyone is shocked as they're being attacked. Ayase says, he punches even in the water. No way is this the same specialization as the mantis shrimp. He is a mantisian. When yours truly gets in the water, that's when things get real. The force of his punches is higher in water than on land. Ayase orders them to get him with the turbo. Granny, with your leg strength, you should be able to swim fast. She replies, I cannot swim. He says, how do we fight again if you're in trouble? But if you don't have that Shiro skank, she will drown. He adds, "What about your power?" She replies, "If I could get right below her, my power could reach, but that shrimp is blocking us. There's no getting close to her." He says, "Order then. I will try the tension, and you use the moment to help Miss Shiratori." She responds, "What are you saying? If you charge right at him, you'll end up like that." He retorts, "How about just not creating your headache?" She says, "How can you say that? I'm trying to make something useful here." She replies, "If it causes more trouble, how is that useful? This is why I said we should run." Someone else says, "You two being relentlessly lovey-dovey is what got us into this mess." They refuse to believe him. He says, "If you do care, then be straight with me. If it's really bothering you, please let me explain myself. I don't care if others misunderstand, but I would hate it if you did. I want you to know what really happened." She says, "Don't touch me." He responds, "How could you say that when you're buck naked?" As an attack charges toward them, he grabs her and goes underwater. He says, "Sorry, it was beyond my control. I won't touch you again." "What is that?" he asks. "Okay, let's stay right here and do this. Don't worry about trying to resist." The mantis says, "There is no escaping from your Truly's attack." As they arrive at the location where Shiro is, he says, "You're some kind of genius." She replies, "I know that." They try to wake Shiro, who has ingested a lot of water. She says, "Don't hate me for this. It's thanks to you." She adds, "We're still in the same situation." He takes off his clothes to make it easier to move, but says, "I am not taking off my clothes until my wedding night." The mantis says, "What's keeping up is very sneaky. We will easily hunt you down. His power is spectacular, but he's measured and attacks indiscriminately. Your attack power is high in the water, but your frequent need to breathe means your opponents can get away." The gig worker apologizes and says, "Well, enough is enough. It's time for us to amalgamate. We will use these body cables to become one." Shiro says, "You better accept responsibility for this. You saw me in my underwear." Ayase replies, "You and your underwear is as cheap as Chupa Chups. More importantly, you two need to get fired. If you don't go all out as a team, we're not going to beat them. Don't you order me around." She says, "I am the leader here." As they go underwater to see where the creature is, they spot it. The scene then shifts to the cat and the grandma. The cat says, "Don't underestimate me. I can kill those people anytime I want to." She adds, "You must be hungry, right? You can sneak in until dinner is ready." The cat responds, "I will let you live for now." On the other hand, as the three of them train to escape the water, they drift past the monster, and the building seems to be destroyed by the pressure of the water. As they drift past, the aliens comment, "What a shame. Out of water, that was close." Shiro says, "What was that thing? Do things like that even exist?" Ayase replies, "We can't take that thing on forever." Someone spots Truly down in the water and says, "Its neck is submerged, so it can't fire its laser non-stop. That means if we wreck its neck, it will not be able to fire the laser. Let's do it. This might get closer, and I will attack." As the laser charges towards them, Ayase uses her powers to repel them upwards from the building, dodging lasers from the monster. She tells everyone to keep it together. Shiro comments, "He's got that punching jar attached. When did that happen? We cannot get near him now. Those bastards knew from the start. They had to compensate for the shortcomings, which is why they brought that punching jerk along." His powerful laser beams and punches on land are one thing, but in the water, it is truly hopeless. Ayase says, "What did you just say?" He responds, "I said it's so useless." She's not talking about the shrimp's punches, but about how they're being launched out of the water with a punch. The monster says, "My high-compression water blast has run out again. I have plenty of other ways to kill you. You are a very dangerous person who has decided to kill me. We could wait for you to drown, but we have already wasted too much time. It would be better just to beat you to death." Suddenly, something happens to it, and Ayase says, "You should not have merged with an alien ship." Anyway, the punch of a mantis shrimp underwater is one thing, but on land, it can't throw a series of punches at all. Neither can he. If he tried, he would end up like you right now. The shock wave of his own punch would rip him apart, but I can stay underwater for hours. He says, "How? Will you drown, or will I continue recharging and then cut you with my high-compression water blast first? I may be a fellow who cannot swim, but I have a road to run on." The acrobatic Silky appears to save them. As they are all lying on the ground on top of each other, they start crying and shouting in pain. They say, "We're back, and we probably beat it." The floor is solid, and they are in the hallway. They thank the hallway for its hardness as they hear some screaming and people asking what they are doing. They look into the hallway and see everyone with surprised expressions on their faces. They realize what happened and start training. Everyone says, "Ayase and the four-eyed kid from Class B were doing it." They run from them, and the crowd says, "And that's Miss Shiratori from Class D. She's naked too. But why are they all naked?" As they reach the school infirmary, the woman says, "You three are trying to wake up. Start from the beginning. Where have you been?" They all say, "No, ma'am." She then says, "Just come out with it. No need to be shy. I have zero tolerance for bullying." They say, "I'm on your side now," and thank her. As someone knocks on the door and opens it, he says, "There's a phone call for you in the staff room." She replies, "I told you before not to open the door without knocking." He apologizes and says, "It seems you need to be punished, you shiny cue ball." He then says, "I will be back immediately. You three can stay here as long as you need to." They thank him, feeling stressed by the situation. Ayase says, "Those aliens are way too persistent. I can't go through that again, and this time they're after me." It's like they want that Turbo Granny's power. She then asks, "Since when have you been able to use Acrosilk's power?" He replies, "I was awake in the middle of a battle. After all, I am the savior of the world. Your title seems to keep changing." She replies, "Acrosilk's aura was transferred to you." Okarun says, "But if that's the case, there's a high chance they'll come after you too." She responds, "Wow, Okarun is concerned about me. You're able to fight them off because of your power, but having that power makes you a target. It's odd, isn't it? If they want the power, why don't they attack yokai directly?" He replies, "This is the argument. If the aliens' position is to trend in science and technology, then why haven't they invaded Earth? I've wondered that myself. It's because they can't. It's not just Japan. There's folklore about spirits and demons all over the world. In other words, these demons protect Earth from alien invasion. Even with their science and technology, they can't beat the yokai, which is why they need to take special people who have the power so they can start studying and developing the science needed to beat them. It could be that they're the ones who stole my missing ball." Ayase says, "Sorry, I was so confused I lost the point. I got the gist of it. The fate of the world is in my hands." He says, "I suppose you could say that, but the most important thing is that I was seen naked." She says, "Don't remind me. Whatever we say, no one will ever believe us. I'll just say you made me strip naked." She then tells Okarun, "You can also say that." She adds, "It's a pain trying to keep up with all these excuses." Her friends come and ask if she's okay. She says, "You scared me." He says, "Don't tell me this was your doing," pointing at Ayase. They say, "If you don't come back with an explanation, you'll be made out to be the bad person in all this." She responds, "I couldn't care less." She adds, "Actually, how about you start explaining yourself at lunch? But what are you doing out there?" He says, "Miss Shiro tried kissing me out of the blue. Then we ended up touching and falling to the ground, and that just happened to be when you saw us." She asks, "But why were you there in the first place?" He replies, "Working out and stuff because I wanted to be strong. I thought it would be cool." She asks, "Why did you need to hide that?" He says, "I thought I could get away with it without you realizing. I wanted you to think I was cool." She says, "Is that so? Let me see your face." He replies, "Don't make fun of me. It's not nice when you do that." She asks, "Why did you want me to think you were cool?" He says, "Because I'm a man." She asks, "But does being a man have to do with it?" He replies, "Are you satisfied now?" He then says, "I'm leaving," and won't say anything that makes you out to be the bad one.